Hi, excuse my voice, I have a flu at the moment, so it sounds terrible. My table has stains all over it from graphite from playing with locks, as do my hands. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show how I took an LW5 key, blank, and modified it to fit into a Medeco 6-pin Bi-axial, which was gifted to me by Noctis Motus in a recent swap that we did. Now the key that I was gifted fits this lock perfectly, except the bitting is different. The pins don't match up, the angled cuts in the key don't rotate the pins to their correct position, and as such is unable to work in this lock in its current state. It does have all 6 pins in it, it does have the sidebar, but I was curious whether or not I could take an LW5 blank, which I do happen to have on hand, and modify it so that one key fits the other keyway. If we have a look and put their center lines together, we can see that some of the angles are almost the same. We have our center line, we have the angle running out to the right there, the other angle running out to the left, which is the same on the LW5, almost the same. And then we have an excess of material on the bottom here on the LW5. Because of the extra material on the LW5, we can't just chop the bottom off the key and stick it in. I needed to remove this edge here, this edge here, this edge here, and this edge here. Then I was able to remove the bottom portion of the key, and it fits the keyway. Now, I did the work with a Dremel rotary tool, or an Ozito clone of one, and I was left with a key profile which looks like this. Now, it's actually quite a horrible profile to look at. When you sit it beside the Medeco, there isn't a great deal that they actually match up on, but the top portion of the key is nice and thick to allow for cutting and use, like cutting to match the pins, and it provides some strength for the key. This bottom portion is actually only to rest or ride in the profile. As you can see, if I was able to actually overlap one over the other, the LW5 modified would fit inside the constraints of the original Medeco key. It was just a little trial and error process. I took the Medeco lock apart, placed the pins aside, put the sidebar aside, and had just the naked core. And then I removed material bit by bit from the inside of this profile line, both top and bottom, and I worked the top and bottom of the other side as well. What that meant was that with the core outside the lock, I could place it into the keyway and it would go all the way to the back where it would touch the shoulder of the key, but there was still material from this line running out, which meant that it was not able to be inserted into the lock once the core was replaced in the lock. Removing that material meant that the lock could be reassembled, and I had a blank which fit all the way into the lock. And if I can get the light just right, we can see that it sits inside that profile. You could be more exact with material removal. This was just a trial and error process, but pin by pin, I used a whetstone, which is an actual rough way of doing this. A sharp file would be preferable, to put a pin resting on the very tip of the key because I didn't want to work the shoulder back further, and the LW5 isn't just not quite long enough. So the 6th pin is actually resting on the leading edge of the key, the leading angle of the key. So it doesn't have another angle on this side to match. It literally only has the one there to orient and twist or rotate. Pin number 6. Pin number 5 was a straight cut, as in no angle, so that was easy enough to match up. Pin number 4, exactly the same. Pin number 3 is actually angled the opposite way, sorry, the same way as the first. Pin number 2, the opposite way, going that way, and pin number 1 was another straight cut. This was achieved simply by cutting it at different angles instead of just rubbing like that, which with a file you would just pass, single pass to remove the material. It was achieved by rotating it and then cutting where I wanted the bitting to go. The end result, although it looks a bit barbaric, is a key which, when inserted in the correct place, doesn't play too much. There's not very much play, there's a little bit, but when inserted fully, lifts the pins to their correct position, rotates them to their correct position, and we have a fully functional key. It's not pretty, but it works.